Hello everybody, another live stream. We are back again. It's Thursday, 26th of January 2023, and I was playing a little pet sound from Predator-3. Make it a little bit more spacey. If I open the attack here in the amp envelope, make it even more ambient. Yeah, nice pet sound. Yeah, welcome to the live stream. I see some people already popping up in the chat room. Everybody welcome. And today my idea was to do again more things about Punch. We had last week also a live stream, and in there I was talking about the bass drum and the snare, so that the models, how the models are. So that's the plan. And I explained a little bit how the concept, the idea we have behind the Punch-2 is a drum synthesizer. It has models and it has built-in samples and a range of samples you can use from your own collection. So this is a model kick, and you see it has a the build-up here, and I showed it last time that you have the curve, which is essentially if you hit the bass, the skin of the bass drum, essentially what this skin does goes from a high pitch to a lower pitch, but does this is extremely fast, which generates this clicking sound, which is of course also by the beater. So this is of course not a bass drum, or more squeak. And now it gets a bass drum. And yeah, we have the tune function, so I can make it even tuned on, which is nice if you're doing some urban music. So you can say my song is in A1, then it plays the A1 or G1. And what we also added here, because this is essentially the pitch envelope which creates the bass sound, it has this start point, which has influence on the click. So if you go down with it, it gets more muddy. I have the tone curve, so we have a high tone curve, which is the clicking is much higher, or a low one. And then we have the amp section, which means that that's the envelope curve, and you see it has a hold feature, which means that you don't necessarily have to use a compressor to have the oomph in your kick. So you can make it really long and then give it a decay. And the cool thing, you see I'm playing now the lowest C, but then this is the first pad. The first pad is also, you can play this in the keyboard up here. See in the upper range? So that's also cool. So the first pad, because here the keyboard ends at a given note, which is the last one, is for triggering the sequences, and then you got the tuned pad 1. So that's what we were talking about last week, and that's of course then the thing which I forgot to mention last week, that with the first pad you also can play it tuned in the upper range. So let me check in the chat room. how you get to use the different outputs. Yeah, that's a good question. Depends on your music host. So this is the normal output feature. It has the normal, and the extra outputs will not appear in this one because it's not the multi-output version. If you want to have multiple outputs, you can arrange that, but let me show you this in, let me see if I can select Punch. You need then to, let me see, create new product. Instrument. You can see here we have drum. That's VST3 Punch-2 multi. That one you need to grab. So I'm now adding the track, and then you can have the bass drum on a different output. So if I go to the edit page here, because now it goes to do the regular one, but if I go here in the edit page, then I can pick another one. So this is the traditional one. I can select 3 and 4 out, for instance, for the bass drum. But you don't hear it now because in Cubase, and that could be different in every music host. In Cubase, you need to do this. Okay. If you are in this multi-track thing, you need to hear in this, here you have to punch multi. Here you can, all outputs, you need to put it on. So here you need to activate, and then it's there, you see? So here I need to, in this inspector inside Cubase, I need to make this extra output activate inside Cubase. But this could be different in your own own environment, depending on which host you are using. So it could be different in studio or live, whatever. But here in Cubase, you first need to select Punch-2 multi, and then you need to also activate the extra outputs, and then they will appear. So the out 3, 4 will appear now. If I select the mixer, will appear now in the mixer. Let me see down here. Yeah, out 3, 4. Here it is. Out 3, 4 and 5, 6. I clicked. So here you see now it comes out of out 3, 4. That's how it works inside Cubase. But as mentioned, in your own music host, if you use a different host, it could be different. Okay, let me see. I hope this answers a little bit the question. Yeah, the other sound we did was the snare, of course, but I want to do some other stuff because, yeah, now you see I have a default preset, and what I could do, for instance, go to the next one, which is say the C sharp 1, C1 sharp, and pick there a different model. We picked the snare drum, and you see here all kind of models pop up. And so this is completely a model. And then that one I showed last week already, and showed, and you see here I have some presets. You hear my keyboard clacking. So that's keyboard, yeah, that's hard. It picks the keyboard. Yeah, the ping, ping, ping for my keyboard. But then, for instance, we have other models. So, so let's take now, for instance, the hi-hat. If the way you can make hi-hats with Punch. So here I go. I pick here the closed hi-hat. And also here we have plenty of models. You see all kind of presets. This is model 2. And I'm just make it a little bit louder. This one uses a modulator. So this one is really a bit like how they do it in an 808. So it's using kind of FM ring modulation. And this is the modulation. So you need to really tweak the sound. It's extremely high and it uses frequency modulation. You also can use ring, which is not very nasty, but for hi-hats I would use the frequency modulation, which I often use also in the so this is more a harder hi-hat, and what we did is the oscillator to have a filter, high pass filter, because once you have these modulations, so there's an oscillator modulated by this one, is that you get a lot of low rumble, and you don't want a low rumble, so we added a high pass filter and you make it a very clean sound. So okay, let me take this one on. See, I made it very thin. And of course we have then also the open hi-hat. I take now the general MIDI, so I have the F1 sharp and I'll go to the A1 sharp for the open hi-hat. So here I can go also up in my keyboard, A1 sharp, or click simply here the edit. So now here I take also the hi-hat, but then take the open hi-hat, and of course here I need to, this is the open one, which is essentially the same as the closed one. So the closed one is this one. The preset my closed hi-hat X1 is the name of this preset, which is essentially shorter than the other one, which is this one, which is a and that's called open hi-hat, which has a longer decay. But the rest of the way it is built up is the same. And of course you want to have in your punch, if you make a groove, that if you play the open, that the open is cut down, is cut by the closed ones. And therefore we have the choke. You say group 1 to the open hi-hat, and here we have the closed hi-hat. Here down here I select it now, and there you also can have group 1. And then it closes the only one. You hear my keyboard? But I could use this sequence, of course. So if I go to a pattern, okay, I would take groove 3 for the hi-hats. Then I'd select here this one, track 1 and track 2. I would select the, and then you have so this is the hi-hat based on FM type of thing. So this is simply essentially doing a drum synthesizer setup. And of course the easy page can still be used. That's, by the way, nice. So this is how they created the hi-hat, for instance, in the 808. More alike, of course. It's a little bit, most likely a little bit different, but so, and then you see what the high pass filter, what it, because you do modulate another oscillator with another oscillator, and then you get a lot of, and it gets more metallic, less, but it's a matter of taste, of course. And by the way, this could be in the easy page. It should be here. Yeah, and the decay. So that's a hi-hat, but there are other ways to do it. In the older, I think the home organs, they use more white noise for creating a hi-hat. So let's see, I'll go back to the closed hi-hat again. So here's the closed hi-hat, and then I mute the other one, mute them. And then we have other presets here. So this one looks pretty much to a 808, I think. So there are many presets in these closed hi-hats with these models. Let me see if I have a noise model. It's model 1. This is the older one, I think. Yeah, this is using noise. Let me see. This is very classic. If you have a, let's say, an analog synthesizer and you don't have the frequency modulation option, you could use white noise and put a filter behind it. And there's also here a high-pass filter. It's a very basic hi-hat, but still okay. So if see, this one is also nice, and we could use that in combination with the other one. Let me see, that would be then. So that's the hi-hat. So you see the model 1, 2. One is the traditional using white noise with a filter behind it. You have an additional noise filter envelope for some typical rising thing, but I don't use it that much, but it's in there. And then you have model 2, which we use with the ring modulation. And there's even a model 3 where you combine both together. So you can say, okay, use the noise and the ring modulation. Yeah, you, Herr Browns, can you remake every drum computer with Punch-2? Yeah, I think it will never be 100% the same, but it uses the same principle. So it can be very close indeed. So, oh, okay, this is a funny one. So these are models in the hi-hats, open hi-hat, closed hi-hat. There are also tom models, if I'm not wrong. So if we go to tom model, it's more like a high-pitched bass drum, so it's pretty similar. Very similar to the model which we use for the bass drum, but a lot higher tuned. So that's the tom model. Tom model 2 has a noise, so you can add some noise to it. Or make it that you only have the click from the. It's very soft now in volume. I don't know. Velocity. I can have it tuned. So. Oh, it's the filter doing it. So there's an additional filter at the end. Okay, that's a little bit loud. That's with white noise. This is more like Simmons indeed. And you can frequency modulation. So yeah, and this layout, maybe that's something which you are looking into to make the layout more clear in what it does. Essentially, you see it has the frequency, but you can also frequency modulation. So you can have a frequency. So this is the amount control to change again this frequency. So modulate. So this bass is modulated by this one. Makes it more metallic. And then you have on the right-hand side the overall length of the sound, which is the amp, you know, just like the synth amp, you have a amp here, how long the sound is. You can add a hold. The overtone is for adding a 7th overtone to the basic sound, kind of yeah, resonance. Frequency is essentially the harder I play, the harder the tuning goes. So that's more, but essentially if you hit a tom a little bit harder, it changes also a little bit of the pitch. But you can do that also a little bit. Then you have the click, which is an additional thing where you can, you know, there's a short click. Or you can say, and that's the mix between pink noise, this is pink noise. This is more realistic for tom. And then you have the overall, the filter here, where you can say again, filter this whole sound so that I get the low end a bit gone. And you can even make it drop. So there are a lot of options. Not all things you will be doing in this tom. Let me see if we have some models here. Clean high. Oh, that preset doesn't load. Yeah, it is very dry. That sounds a little bit like what is coming out of a CR88 type of thing. So this is a tom models, and then of course, yeah, the more exciting one. So the tom is pretty tuk 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 tuk. It's not that exciting. It's the same as you have in a 808 or 909. Is a typical tuk 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 sound. Not very realistic. Useful, but not very realistic. Yeah, then of course the clap. That one is a very good one in Punch-2. So here we have different models. Again, 3. This one, which is a monophonic one, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. And this explains essentially how a clap is made, for instance, in an 808. Essentially, you have a repeating, so they modulate a bandpass filter with a saw wave, which creates this repeating thing. So if I open this repeats, you hear that's 4 repeats. So if I do 3, I only have 3. Then you have the clap. So you use a bandpass filter. If I would use a different filter, like a notch, the whole sound is gone. It's very different. It's not really a good clap, at least not in my perspective, or a low pass filter. It's essentially not very useful. So you always use a low pass filter, a bandpass filter. We have different types: 12 dB bandpass, type 2. So it's a different sound a little bit. So I would pick here 4 repeats, so 4 people clapping, and then you need to have it a bit more realistic. So this is too slow. So if you would have a beat, these four people clapping are totally out of sync. So they need to clap on the right moment. Still have a little bit difference because one is better in the timing than the other one, and then you get a clap. And then of course the filter can make some different sounds. Q. So you can make thousands claps. Well, this is the monophonic one. And of course down here we have the curve, you know, and the length. Or the hold. Okay, bring it back. Yeah, tooltips. Yeah, tooltips is something which is which we are adding to all the current. Here you see it pop up. Pad volume -5. That pops up now. And very handy if you are visible limited, of course. And then, of course, if you go around, you will see how much inside is Punch-2. So this is the clap model 1. If we go to clap model 2, you hear it's stereo. And that's the difference. Here we have a spread, which is a stereo spread, and which has an offset, because then the noise goes to one and to left and right, and the offset is for the frequency. So then you have a little bit different left and right. Now, and we have 4 repeats, and we also have an offset for the speed. And this is something we really need to improve, because here it should say stereo spread, and then the offset should be a connection line and speed. I know what it is, but for you as user, of course. So then you have a stereo clap. Yeah, it sounds also a little bit like shooting. You can also have no whip effect in Punch. Yeah, there are plenty of that inside. Winston is asking for the whip effect, but that's plenty inside of it. Can we reverse a sample in Punch? Yeah, sure, also, sure. So these are model 2 and model 3 has an also humanization. So then it changes the pitch a little bit if you have then, so you get more human feel. So each time is a little bit different. Hear that? And also here in the filter, there's a random to frequency. That if you open that a little bit, so each time it's a little bit different. Yeah, isn't that cool? So these are the 3 models, and then of course you have the classic claps. This one, which is a 909, 808, or 909 and 808, or this is the 909, and then a very old Lin type of clap. Then you get all kind of my own creative claps. So here, this is a sample, Punch-2, it's a sample, and here you can click reverse. And then you have it reverse, and then you say, okay, for the timing it should be better. Then you simply change the offset. You see, this is the offset, so then you really can time it perfectly. I have somewhere a groove in this. Let me see if I go to the bank manager. Maybe here, yeah, this one. So this talks about beats, 126 beats per minute. So if I go here to 126, now the okay, let's go to the groove. We'll go to the pattern. And this is break 4. Oh, here it is, groove 3 I need to have. So here it's, this one is track 2 from groove 3, which is pad number 10. You down here, you can also see it, that they are playing, and I go to pad 10. And here you see the clap, which is a sample, which is has then reverse, and by using the offset. And this could also be an option. So this is the reverse feature. Also, if you load in your own sample, so you see this is the type of pad 10 has typed clap, and then you see you have then models, classic, and then the punch, which are the built-in claps which we add. But if you say I want to use my own clap, you can go pick here sample and go here to the main root, for instance. And in the number 2 user, you could drop your own bass drums, you know, or in the claps, you can drop your own claps or make your own folder. That's all possible. And then use your own claps. Okay, I've asked from Music, Taku, stupid questions. Well, there are no stupid questions, I think. I never heard a stupid question. I think the type of sounds which you find in Albino 3, plenty in the style of sounds we will find in indeed Predator-3 or Blue 3. I mean, for instance, this pad sound which I played in the start of the live stream. Let me see if I can find it back here. Where is it? Where's Predator-3? Now this is the one I played. So all these styles of presets you will find, but even in better audio quality. I mean, this throws Albino out of the water in terms of audio quality. It's far more dynamic, far more brilliant in the high ends. And that's logic because at that time we had to adapt to the CPU power which was available, and sometimes you have to make some compromises in terms of envelope speed and that kind of thing. And I think in the whole range, Predator-3, Summon Base 2, Blade 2, and that's what I mentioned, I think, in one stream. People were, once it was released, people were saying, okay, why can't I do, because it has this slider where you could morph between one wave and to another wave in Albino 3, but you could not modulate it. So because that was simply not possible, and now it's possible, and people forget that this is now possible in Predator 3. So it's far more limited compared to what we offer now. So sounds like this, where it morphs between two waveforms dynamically by using the XY, are not possible with Albino. So there's a big difference. It's really way beyond in terms of audio quality of what we did at that time. Although still, of course, it's a great synth and it has its own sound. But it's replaced by much better, in my opinion, much more in terms of audio quality, features. I'll give you another example is, let me see. No, that's not the one. That's also not the one. I'm looking for typical presets. Knijplied. Also the quality of the reverb, it's from a totally different level. So it has so many tones. So everything and much more you will find in our current product line. Now, this is one of my favorite, Berlin voice, which is a kind of PPG sound. Yeah, and then of course we have Blue 3, which has another dimension because it uses also a range of samples. And so in terms of pads, Blue 3, also in Blade too, by the way, some very interesting. You can rule the world with Blue 3. I think with most of our product line, you can create a whole album just using one plugin. Maybe Sublime Bass, because that's focused on basses and because of sequences, but in general, yeah, it's way powerful. It's unbelievable what you can do today. If I would know this, let's say 20 years ago, that you would all have these amazing features in your computer, I would be really stunned to that was possible, what you can do today. So yeah, so in terms of sounds, check out our plugins. You can download the demo version. Demo version only has the introduction bank, but that already shows a lot of what is inside of it. So I think the Blue 3 has in the introduction bank 135 presets which you can check out, and then yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. Okay, let's go back to the yeah, I play this to keep you calm, guys. So I calmed you down with this nice pad sound, and I think this one is one of maybe one of the favorites from Gert. Diamond string, this rare machine which I did sample. Very, very strange. And that's the cool thing with Blue 3, things which you cannot create with the traditional analog model waveforms or spectrum waveforms, that you can do with samples and combine them together, making some very new, fresh sounds. That's all about the goal, that we create some new, cool sounds. So, where was I? With Punch-2. That's a good one. Oh! That one hits. Is that one using... That's a real hi-hat. Where is the... Here it is. It's F. Yeah, this one is the sample page where you can have sample A, B, and C. You can toggle alternate between A and B. Here it does some weird things, which I found out that it moves, but nothing should moving. So if it's bypass, it should not move this dot. Yeah, that's a weird bug, which I need to point out to John. Hey John, this dot is moving and it should not be moving. But now I found a preset because he could not reproduce it. And now I found a preset where I can show it. Well, this one uses grain. So if you put in your own samples, this night is much better. I like the snare. Well, it's simply tuned. And you can put grains on it. Not always good. So this is playing only sample 8, that's maybe better. I like it more clean. Also here you can do a reverse sample and sample offs. And you see in the sample page, because this is a sample loaded here, this pad, you see you have the sample, you can reverse, you can even re-trigger. So if I put again normal, should re-trigger time. Eight times here it says in the readout, 8 times re-trigger. So that's also possible. So insane options inside this section. So this is what you can do with the sample. You can add a loop. You have the tuning. You have a filter. You can place a filter behind it. So let's say a notch filter, for instance, or maybe a high-pass filter. And use the velocity. Hear that? On LFO. Or filter envelope. It's all there. So yeah, that's just with one sample, and one sample pad, you can combine 3 samples together. You can alternate them, you can split them, or you can mix them together. So essentially on one pad, you already can mix 3 samples together. Okay. I'm checking the chat room. Yeah, so this about Punch, I think I'll tell a little bit already about everything. Then, of course, you got some other things. We had the clamp, but also user. And user, you have the special features. So if you go to user and then you go to, okay, now here we have the presets. Box shake. Where are you? Well, this is pure synthesis. Problem with preset file? Okay, why that? Now, this is a lot of things going on. Here I also need to see what is going on. There's a noise filter, noise envelope. Now, okay, let me see where I found the decay. So this is essentially also a synthesizer. You can have it tuned. Oi, oi, oi. Drop. Yeah, and this one is modulated by a sinus wave for modulation. So this is the amount. So you also can make some synth sound. Yeah, and then you can make it go from left to right over a given time. Or you can have a slow effect. So the most weird sound effects you can create. And there are plenty presets on board. Clack. Go bell made by... So let me see if I... These are all things, sounds I created by... Or additive. Cabasa. So here you can make, like in an analog machine, analog drum machine, cabasas like this. Very short noise. These are all using the same model. And then you see the model has essentially one and one long. Long has different envelope times. So this, if you pick this one as using 3 long, so that one could be very long. Cabasa, these kind of things. And these are all presets. So if you go to type user, user is essentially where you set yourself your own, percussion sound, whatever. You could even make a drum model. So you see all the models here, even string model is inside of it. That's the user one, which has a lot of models. Some models are equal to snare or drums. So all of them are here. And you see a lot of pages. And this is the string model. And this one is cool if you have, of course, velocity on. So the most weird sounds you can create, the sky is the limit. It's only essentially, the user, which is the restriction. So you see a lot of presets. Tell me. Side sticks. So all kind of percussion sounds are inside in the user. And then you see also we have then here different variations. A string model are presets. Let me see if there are string models. Preset, just only one. Okay. Then go to another section. FX bass drums. So these, again, bass drum, but in the user section. But the more FX sounds. Cymbals. Real one, but of course also then I think some FX ones. Now you got the stereo swap. So you see a lot of presets are already inside of it. So if you want to make a weird kick, then you simply go here and you go to a pad and you pick the type of sound you want to have. And even with samples, we have a lot of built-in sounds. Like here, you see then the subgroup, the folders are, for instance, if you say, I want to have a gong on my pad, you go to samples, gongs, gong cheapo, gong tune, FX wide. most weird things. So a lot of possible. It's insane. But what we need to improve, that's my opinion. So this one is pretty clear. Some of the pages, the naming of the DAOs could be maybe a little bit more clear. And maybe we should make some images, what it does. So a kind of image. So if we have room where you can say this one modulates this one. And that's definitely an option. What we will do in the near future. And what we did in the last version, this should be version 6. We updated this recently, is if you go to the preset should load faster. So if you go to the manager and then you go to the banks, introduction bank, then sometimes you have a screen that does say loading preset. No, it doesn't load so fast that it doesn't show this. No. So depending on your hard disk, sometimes it will show up here that it loads in the preset. That's not happening now. Yeah, and for the older fans, I also made because these samples are also very well inside of it. 104, I've taken another beat. I have in the diverse bank, I made the KF55. And we have the CR78. And these are all sounds you can play also on the keyboard. And I added some new Punch-2 sound. Like this one. Yes, so today a bit about Punch and synths in general. And by the way, yesterday Ron Boots came over to my studio, and we did a gig in November at the CKA, and it's on CD. You can see the inside of the CD, and this is the outside of the CD back. And this is the CD. So that's available of Groove Music. It's 1 hour music we did play live together. And we will play live in Belgium together. They asked also if we could do a tribute there again for Klaus Schulze. And we even make a kind of evangelist intro also on this event. That will be 25th of March. We will be in Ghent with the T. Ghent, a bit further than Antwerp. We will be on an event there and playing 1 hour together again, playing some classic synthesizer music. So if you are in the neighborhood of Ghent, I will put this of course on Facebook and most likely also in the newsletter that you can find it there, this event. Okay guys, that is for today. I hope you enjoyed it. You can give it a thumbs up. And of course, we will not go out without a fine, nice demo by Tom Alrich, which he sent today, with lots of Bluetooth. So we're going to listen to that. I did not listen yet to myself to it. So I'm also curious what Tom did create it today. So we're going to play it. Yeah, I see Johan, yeah, Johan saw us playing on eLive 2022. Yeah. Perfect, guys. So I'm going to play it. Tom, thanks for sending it in. And yeah, we will enjoy it. And I hope to see you next week, guys. Stay well and enjoy creating music. Dance time! Dance time!